Okay, so let's go over these. The first one over here, the subtraction. Of course, we start on the right, work our way back to the left. 6 minus 11 gives us some difficulty, so we're going to have to borrow. This is going to become a 6 here. What's the 6 here going to become? It's going to become 18, because we borrowed 12. We have to add 12 to the 6 to make it 18 inches now. So now we go ahead and subtract. 18 minus 11 is 7 inches. Now 36 minus 19, we're going to borrow from the 3, make that a 2. This is a 16. 16 minus 9 is 7. 2 minus 1 is 1. So we have 17 feet, 7 inches. Now over here, we're going to set this up in more of a traditional division, traditional long division. 5 goes into 29. 5 times 5 feet. 5 feet times 5 is 25 feet. How many are left over? 4 feet. Before we can bring down the 2 inches, what do we have to do?
You need to bring down the 2.
4 feet has to be converted into 48 inches. Then we can bring down the 2 to combine with that to get 50 inches. And 5 goes into 50 10 times. So 5 feet, 10 inches. Make sense? Okay. So, we also talked briefly yesterday. We did an example, actually, about finding an area. And this ain't the exact example, but let's just do it like this. We're going to call this 3 feet, 6 inches. And let's do this one as 5 feet, 9 inches. And if I wanted to find the area of this, it's going to be 3 foot 6 times 5 foot 9. But we mentioned yesterday, we don't do that calculation in dual units. We do that calculation with either converted all into feet or all into inches. So let's convert it all into inches first. What's 3 foot 6 converted into inches? Do that conversion for me quick in your notes if you need to. What's it going to be? Well, how many inches in a foot? It is 42, yes. 12 inches in a foot, so 3 times 12 is 36, plus 6 is 42 inches. It's just like working with fractions. You can think of this as 3 and 6/12 of a foot. 3 times 12 is 36, plus 6 is 42. So how about 5 foot 9? How many inches are in 5 feet? 5 times 12 is 60, plus 9 is 69. So it's 69 inches. So then we have 42 times 69. 2898. 2,898 square inches is the area. Of course, the other alternative would be to convert everything into feet. 3 foot 6, kind of like what we did here. That's 3 and 6/12 feet. Or I'm going to write it as 3.5 feet, reducing that fraction. 5 foot 9 would be 5 and 9/12 feet, which reduces to 5 and 3/4. So if I multiply that out, 3.5 times 5 and 3/4, I'm going to go 3.5 times 5.75. 20.125. Of course, that is square feet. It's 20 and 1/8 square feet. Now, we pointed out yesterday, and I want to go over it in more detail now. Normally, to get from feet to inches, we just multiply by 12. But if we multiply that by 12, we get 140 or 241.5. That's not 2898, is it? Multiply by 12 again, however, we get 2898. Why did we have to multiply by 12 twice? Because it is square feet. Yes. What happens here, this is not feet and inches, it is square feet and square inches. 1 square foot is defined to be 1 foot by 1 foot, which would make it 12 inches by 12 inches. That's why we had to multiply by 12 twice, was for each direction. Or in other words, if we just do 12 inches times 12 inches, we get 1 foot squared, or 1 square foot. 12 times 12 is 144 square inches. The conversion, when the units are squared, the conversion factor is also squared. So instead of multiplying by 12 to convert from square feet to square inches, it would be 144. So if you have something that is 3,456 square inches, and I want to convert that into square feet, whether you're doing some sort of a laminate countertop or whatever you want to do with it, or even doing a painting or whatever, where you know the price per square foot and you have it measured in inches. What we're going to have to do and I know you guys don't necessarily have to write out the whole conversion factor like this, but it helps me. 1 square foot is how many square inches again? 144. So, to get from 3456 to square feet, the square inches cancel out. This is going to be 3456 divided by 144, which is going to give us, anybody? 24 square feet. Does that make sense? Or going the other way, if I have 3 square feet, am I going to square inches? I'm not going to write out the conversion factor. We know that we're going to have to multiply because the units are getting smaller. The numbers got to get bigger, right? By how much? Times 144 again. Gives us 432 square inches. Any questions? Well, how about 7 square yards going into square feet?
Like 9 feet.
There you go. Yeah, we know that 1 yard equals 3 feet. Well, 1 square yard is 1 yard by 1 yard. So that's going to be 3 feet by 3 feet. And 3 times 3 is 9 square feet. So each square yard becomes 9 square feet. Because the units are squared, the conversion factor, again, is squared. So instead of times 3, it's going to be times 9. This is 63 square feet. Any questions? So if we have 108 square feet, how many square yards is that going to be? Well, what are we going to divide by? Not 3, 9, because it's square feet and square yards. 108 divided by 9 is 12 square yards. In your notes, try to figure that one out quick. So, of course, to get from inches to yards, we're going to divide because the unit's getting bigger. The number has to get smaller. But we're not going to divide by 36 because it's not inches and yards. It's square inches and square yards. So we're going to divide by 36 squared. 36 squared would be what? 1296. So we divide by 1296, we get 2. There we go. 2 square yards. How many had 2 square yards?
I did it different.
You did it different? Or did you divide by 36 twice?
44, and then I divide that by 9.
Oh, sure, you divided by, that works perfectly. That is always acceptable to go from square inches into square feet, which is going to give you, what, 18? If you divide by 144. Because you know there's 144 square inches per square foot. Then you divide by 9, which will give you the 2 square yards. That works just fine. 36. 1 yard is 3 feet. Each foot is 12 inches, so that's 36 inches. 36 inches in a yard. Yep. So then 36 inches by 36 inches would be a square yard. There is a unit of area. Of course, these are units of area because they're squared inches, square yards, square feet. There's a unit of area that doesn't fit into all that, and that is the acre. Anybody know how big an acre is? 1 acre is 43,560 square feet. So let's say you have a city lot. So you have a large city lot. It's 120 feet by 180 feet. Is that an acre? Well, to find the area, you're going to do length times width. It's 120 times 180. So you get 21,600 square feet. So now we're going to convert that into acres. 21,600 square feet. I'm going to put it over 1. I'm using conversion factor. Square feet on bottom, acres on top. 1 acre is 43,560. So the square feet will cancel out. This is telling me it's the 21,600 divided by 43,560. 0.496 acres. So just less than half an acre. That's a large city lot, by the way, 120 by 180. Okay. Well, how about volume? What if I have 3 cubic feet and I want to convert that into cubic inches? Well, a cubic foot is 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot. Now, of course, a foot is 12 inches. So that's 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches. So 1 cubic foot, cubic, not squared. So 1 foot cubed, 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot is 12 by 12 by 12, or 1,728 inches cubed, or cubic inches. Did you see where that came from? This is one, I think I mentioned it, but that conversion sheet I gave you on the lower left, that's one to make sure that you get that changed, because there's a, it looks like it says 1.728 cubic inches. That should be a comma. 1,700. The lower left corner where it says units of volume on the front side. So anyway, this is going to be 3 cubic feet over 1. Cubic feet on bottom, so that's 1 cubic foot is 1728 cubic inches. Cubic feet cancel out. 3 times 1728 is 5184. So 3 cubic feet is 5,184 cubic inches. Pardon me. Any questions? So let's try this one. $567 cubic feet into cubic yards. Try that one in your notes. See if we can make that one work. Okay, so cubic feet to cubic yards. How many cubic feet are in a cubic yard? You figured it out?
3. 3 feet goes 1 yard.
Well, 1 cubic yard is just 1 yard by 1 yard by 1 yard. So that's 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, or 3 by 3 by 3 is 27 cubic feet in a cubic yard. So you get from cubic feet to cubic yards divided by 27, which will give us 21. 567 divided by 27 is 21. There's 21. Now, I actually use this conversion a lot. I run a construction company in the summers, so concrete, sand, anything like that is all ordered in cubic yards. So you're figuring things out in cubic feet and converting it to cubic yards. So let's go the other direction. Let's say that I have 5,180. We already did that one. That was no fun. 3,456 cubic inches. Convert that into cubic feet. And then also take 7 cubic yards and convert that into cubic feet. So, cubic inches to cubic feet, what am I going to do? Units are getting larger, so we have to multiply or divide.
Divide.
We're going to have to divide. Units are getting larger, so the numbers get smaller. We're going to divide by...
3.
We're going to divide by... Well, 12 inches in a foot, but if it's cubic, it's 12 by 12 by 12. That's the 1728. That's when there's 2 cubic feet. That seems like a lot of cubic inches for just 2 cubic feet, doesn't it? When we do the cubic, it adds up in a hurry. Now then, 7 cubic yards into cubic feet. Are the units getting smaller or larger?
Smaller.
The units are getting smaller, so the number gets larger. So we're going to multiply by
7.
how many? Well, there's 3 feet in a yard. So this is cubic, so it's 3 by 3 by 3, which is
27.
27. There you go. Okay. So 7 times 27 is 189 cubic feet.
I was looking at the top number, like the top column number is perfect, and that's why I got.
Oh, sure. Yeah, remember,
Yeah.
these were square, so this was 3 by 3, so that's 9, or 12 by 12, so 144. Now, just like we had the acre for area, for volume, we're going to look at units of capacity. We have gallons. 1 gallon is approximately 231 cubic inches. Not quite exactly. 1 cubic foot is actually quite a bit larger than a gallon. What is it, a 5-gallon bucket? Do you think a 5-gallon bucket is more or less than 1 cubic foot?
More.
5-gallon bucket is actually quite a bit less than a cubic foot. 1 cubic foot contains, well, some books say 7.5, but it's closer to 7.48 gallons. So if I have for the sake of making it simple, we're going to make it a rectangular tank that is 8 feet by 3 feet. Let me make up the problems, Skyler. By 4 feet. The volume of that is just going to be 8 by 4 by 3, which is going to be 96 cubic feet. If I want to turn that into gallons, then this is where that conversion factor comes in handy. Because most of us off the top of our head have a hard time deciding which is bigger, a gallon or foot. Well, we can see here from our conversion factor, 1 cubic foot is 7.48 gallons. So we can see that the gallon is larger. The number's going to get, or the gallon is smaller, so the number's going to get larger. So 96 times 7.48 is, oops, dang, get all the way in. 96 times 7.48. 718.08 gallons. It's a pretty big tank. Or let's say in your car, again, we're going to approximate it with a rectangle. Let's say your car has a tank that is 36 inches by 18 inches by 6 inches. So the volume is going to be 36 by 18 by 6. Or 3,888 cubic inches. To convert that into gallons, put it over 1. So cubic inches have to go on bottom so they cancel out. Gallons on top. 1 gallon's 231 cubic inches. That tells us cubic inches cancel. We're dividing by 231. Giving us 16.83 gallons in that tank. That's actually a pretty standard car tank.
231 cubic inches.
In a gallon is 1 gallon. Yep.
Does it say that on the start?
It should say that on that conversion chart somewhere. In the metric system, I'm going to put this chart up here again for those of you that don't have it already in your notes. This would be a good time to get it put somewhere, like a back page of a notebook or something, so you have it very handy. We are going to use it often over the next couple of weeks. The conversion between each unit in the metric system is 10. There are 10 decimeters in a meter, 10 centimeters in a decimeter, 10 millimeters in a centimeter. So when we move a spot on the chart, we're multiplying or dividing by 10. So if I have 0.028 meters and I'm converting it into centimeters, well, I'm just going 2 spots to the right on the chart. Each spot is multiplying by 10, so it moves the decimal point one place for each spot on the chart. So I went 2 spots to the right on the chart. I go 2 spots to the right with my decimal point. That's 2.8 centimeters. But if it were square meters to square centimeters, Just like with our standard units. A square foot was a foot by a foot. So to convert to square inches, that's 12 inches by 12 inches, or 12 by 12 is 144. Here, each position on the chart was 10, but now that it's square units, it's 10 by 10, or what's 10 times 10? 100, right? So now that square units, each position on the chart is multiplying or dividing by 100. So it's not one decimal place, it's 2. Multiplying or dividing by 100 is 2 decimal places. So to get from meters to centimeters is still 2 spots on the chart, but each spot on the chart is 2 decimal places. So the decimal point has to move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, adding a 0. That's 280 square centimeters. Now if it were cubic meters going into cubic centimeters, again, just like in our standard system, a cubic foot was 12 inches by 12 inches by 12 inches, or 12 cubed, 1,728. Here's the same thing. Each spot on the chart now is 10 by 10 by 10, or 1,000. If you multiply or divide by 1,000, how many decimal places does it move? 3, right? So when it's cubic meters and cubic centimeters, each place on the chart is 3 decimal places. So meters to centimeters is still 2 spots on the chart. 2 times 3 is 6. So the decimal point has to move 3 spots. 1, 2, 3, or 6, has to move 6 spots. 4, 5, 6. We're going to have 3 zeros. So 0.028 cubic meters is 28,000 cubic centimeters. So if I was converting 2,800 millimeters into centimeters, millimeters to centimeters is 1 spot to the left, right? So how many spots do I move my decimal point? 1 spot to the left. That's 280, right? Each spot on the chart, if it's standard units, millimeters and centimeters, each spot on the chart is 1 decimal place. But what if it were 2,800 millimeters cubed going into centimeters cubed? Now each spot on the chart is how many decimal places? It's cubed, so it's 3. So 1 spot on the chart is going to be 3 decimal places. 1, 2, 3. It's 2.8. Because it's cubed, it's not 10 anymore. It's 10 by 10 by 10. 10 by 10 by 10 is 1,000. So it's 3 decimal places. So if I have, let's do this. 0.72 centimeters squared. In your notes, how many millimeters squared is that? Or if I have 580,000 centimeters cubed, how many meters cubed is that? So in your notes, try to do those 2 quick. So for the first one, centimeters to millimeters is 1 spot to the right on the chart. But it's squared, so each spot on the chart is how many decimal places? 2. So we got to move 2 spots to the right. 1 spot to the right times 2 is 2 spots to the right. That is 72 square millimeters. 580,000 centimeters cubed to meters cubed. Centimeters to meters is 2 spots to the left on the chart. But since it's cubed, each spot on the chart is how many decimal places? 3. Cubed is 3 spots on the chart, or 3 decimal places for each spot on the chart. So 2 spots to the left on the chart is 2 times 3, or 6 spots to the left of the decimal point. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is 0.58 meters cubed. Does that make sense? The tough part is just remembering it. Is that I guarantee you that on a quiz that might occur sometime soon, like Tuesday, for those of you playing along at home, that was a hint. I will see several of you take 2.7 centimeters cubed, put it into millimeters cubed, and try to tell me that's 27. It is not. What's it going to be? Centimeters to millimeters is 1 spot to the right. So it's got to move 3 spots because it's cubed. 1, 2, 3. That's going to be 2,700 millimeters cubed. Yeah, you love the 27, right? Oh, you won't do that? Okay, good. Or, excuse me. Excuse me. 4,900 centimeters squared going into meters squared. Centimeters to meters is 2 spots to the left on the chart, but this is squared, so each spot is 2 decimal places. So I have to go 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 0.49 meters squared. So, little review. In your notes, try these. Excuse me. Try those 3 quick. Okay, so cubic feet to cubic inches, it's times what? 1728. So that's going to give us what? 8,640, does that look right? Perfect. Square yards to square feet is going to be times 3 feet in a yard, but it's squared, so it's going to be 3 times 3, 3 squared, 9, right? So that's going to be 486. And then 3.8 cubic meters to cubic millimeters. Well, meters to millimeters is 3 spots to the right on the chart, but it's cubic, so it's going to be how many decimal places? 9. There we go. You're thinking squared. If it's squared, you double it. If it's cubed, you got to triple it. So we've got to go 1, add zeros, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's 380 million millimeters cubed.
I was doing that. I thought it was the wrong answer for a second. It was such a good.
It sounds outrageous, doesn't it? Yeah. So out of that packet I gave you on page 237, do 25 through 42. I still have to copy that answer sheet for you, but I'll get it to you on Tuesday. And on page 265, 23 through 40. I'll give you guys last 5 minutes to do a good jump start on that.
Todd, do I just do that one place on Monday then?
Um,
Or,
yeah, if you want. Monday or Tuesday. I don't seem to be managing to give you guys a whole lot of homework time lately for some reason. Remind me at the beginning of class on Tuesday, and I'll give it to you. When we do the other quiz, if you get done early, I'll just give it to you then right after that.
how many problems is that quiz gonna
Is it the percent quiz that you need to do, or is it, no, it's the scientific notation quiz you need to do. It's 10 questions, but it might take a little while because it's kind of tricky. Make sure you remember the rules for the powers of tens, the multiplying, dividing, and powers of powers.
Yeah, I have to look it over.
Okay.